Hi, Taurus. Okay. So, I needed a couple of days to get my head around these squares. Mars has moved into your sign and immediately began to create these tense squares with Pluto. So these are points of conflict, and relationships have gotten tough. They get touchy. Either you've had clashes of energy already, or you've been smart and just keeping to yourself because it's the easiest way to keep from upsetting your associations with people. So let's talk about those clashes of energy and perhaps about a forced time of introspection. Okay, so first up we have the Tower, the Seven of Swords, and the Five of Pentacles. Okay. All right. It's cool. It's Mars in your sign squaring Pluto. This is hella fucking accurate. But wait. Five of Wands and Temperance. And although people will seem like your enemy, although the world, and perhaps for some of you specifically a Sagittarius, seems like your enemy, you have to understand everything that is going on behind your impulses to view the world or one specific person this way. All of this is behind it. And what is this? When we say that Mars is squaring Pluto, where does the tension actually come from? So let's look at the most traditional meanings that we have of this card. So the Tower is, of course, a card of chaos and upset, and the status quo being upended, but also, and we've talked about this before, it's a card of necessary change. So when we cannot bring ourselves to change something that needs to be changed, very much so, something that we have been prompted to change over and over again, and yet we haven't gotten around to it. And that means something different for Taurus. When you don't get around to something, it's because you don't want to do it. And so Tower moments, unfortunately, can become the only way that progress is made. It's only until, things are falling down around you that you realize that you have to move. Because most of the time, as a Taurus, people are going to give you space. They're going to let you be. And so, whereas with other signs, they may be prompted to say way before the Tower moment ever happens, hey, you should probably change this, or not hang out with that person, or maybe stop doing this. With you, they will not try at all, much to your detriment, because they know that you are so fixed in what you're doing that you won't be moved, that you don't move. People let you have that. Now, anyone who expects you to keep evolving, anyone who won't let you have that space and be sedentary, up here, they can become an enemy to you. They can become, you feel like they're against you because you feel like they're expecting you to get up and change things when it's not your nature. So, because getting up and changing things is not in your nature, unfortunately, when things need to change, they often come in this form, which is sudden and total upheaval, which Mars in your sign squaring Pluto completely makes sense. That's what it looks like. And then we have this interesting mix coming up with the Tower of the Seven of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. So how much of this has to do with your inability to keep from thinking small? How much of this has to do with you taking from yourself by Not just thinking small, but reiterating your smallness to yourself again and again with your actions, with the things you do and the things you say about yourself, about other people. Playing it small has cost you so much, and now the tower indicating that something changes irrevocably that disallows you from being able to do this to yourself, to diminish yourself time and again. And I think you may believe truly that you are helping yourself by thinking this way. Perhaps you think this is humility, I don't know. But it's constantly draining you to be this way, to live in a space of victimhood, that someone took something from me, someone did something to me. My life is not the way I want it to be because somebody, and for some of you, this is a specific person, you have named your villain, did what they did to me, and that's why I'm in this Five of Pentacles state. And this makes you, like I said, relationships get tough. It makes you combative. It makes you argumentative. It makes you hard to be around, especially for the next 20, 25 days. And temperance is what's called for. You have to be able to see a larger picture. You have to be able to see your own self in the things that you're describing as causes for the effects that you are now feeling. You have to be able to see yourself in those causes. Do you? Do you have the wherewithal to see your half of this? And the hope is that once you come into a place of introspection, which should hopefully be in the next few days, then what you are introspective about in that Cancer season, beautiful, kind of balmy, warm, amniotic fluid state, think about what drives you. When you feel loved and surrounded and comforted by that Cancerian water, sit and think. What is it about for you? What do you really want? Do you even have something you want? Is there anything bigger than just the creature comforts? Do you want anything? And if so, what? And then is it something you actually want to make real, or is it something that you would just like to continue to keep wanting? Because that's also a thing. You're also deriving this whole other type of pleasure where you get to keep yourself in your place by constantly desiring something that you have convinced yourself you can't have. It's also a way to diminish yourself. Okay? Now, you're also hypersensitive emotionally for the next month to everything. Your emotions are so heightened. You take everything personally, hypersensitivity. You're holding on to everything. You're crying about everything. You feel like everyone is, being mean, being vindictive. And it makes you want to be mean. It makes you want to be vindictive. It makes you want to overshoot the mark. And, now you're trying to win the mean game. Now you're trying to see who can be more fucked up, me or them. And it can get really, really ugly. You can either choose in Cancer season to lead with love, or you can hurt people and they can hurt you, and it all ends up in hurt and pain and just really a lot of sadness and really bad vibes. Really, really bad vibes. You are very much in control right now of how amazing, innocent, fun, generous your summer is going to be, or how chaotic, blame-filled, argument-filled, power trip-filled, just drama-filled it will be. You decide if you come out of this summer as someone who can offer help to others or someone who desperately needs help. You're either going to use this summer to, in some very real ways, grow the fuck up, or you will be stuck and you'll see and know exactly why you're stuck. And what will that why be? Relationships, dog. The strength of our relationships and connections to each other. I think this season wants to show you, even if it has to be in a harsh way, how important your connections to people are and how much you need to respect them and how much luck and love those connections bring with them and how you shouldn't trifle with them or treat them casually. The people that have been chosen and whose lines have been written next to your lines in the book, that they are going to be your friends, those people are important. Your connections to people, loved ones or otherwise, they're important. And I think you've had quite a long run of just centering on yourself, and perhaps to the point where you have began to believe that victim role even. It's hard for most people to stand in the spotlight. If you stand there long enough, most people figure out that playing the victim is the easiest way to keep getting the attention without having to do any work. And it can go that way sometimes. It's no big deal. But there's a lot of that here. Once you start playing victim, everyone looks like a villain. Once you start playing victim, all of a sudden you have 10 more weaknesses that you never noticed and you feel 10 times as weak. Once you start playing victim, you start thinking people owe you things. And whether that's true or not, doesn't matter. It's just not an effective strategy. Which is what I'm trying to focus on, is what is actually going to work for you. So let's talk more about what works for you. And what I want to talk about in the extended, particularly when it comes to career and money, is this idea of having a wealthy experience and what that means and how to achieve that when you're dealing with quite a stubborn mind that can sometimes be characterized as only being able to think in one very linear direction. I don't believe that's true for all of you, but I think there is a way to get around that, even if you are like that and stubborn like that. I think there's still a way to get through to that mind and create this wealthy, abundant experience, which can really turn the tide for you in Cancer season. Your emotions will be the key in Cancer season, and we'll talk about how to hook and key into those. Okay? Yeah. That link is below. We're going to go right into the extended right now. And you're going to see a little preview. That's what I was just thinking about. A little preview of the cards right now. I love you. Hi, Taurus. Welcome to your extended. Welcome to your preview to the extended. We're going to jump straight into July. But first, we're going to talk about career and money. And letting go of revenge. Some of you may feel very wronged right now, but your approach is not helping. This is not the time to be spending energy on trying to hurt other people. This should be the time that you're spending healing yourself. This should be the time that you're spending trying to Make some sense of these squares and getting ready for the surprises that follow in July. Pleasant surprises, inshallah, pleasant. But if you persist in hurting somebody else right now, even if they deserve it and you are sure they deserve it, if you persist on, let's put it a different way, if you persist on using your energy in that way, I think you're too exhausted to even notice when things turn around. Periods of instability are hard. They're terribly hard. What makes them even more difficult is not having the energy during those periods to prepare for the bounce back, which is inevitable. What goes up must come down, vice versa. But it's so difficult when you're in that space of feeling like you can't get what you want. It's so hard in that space to prepare for a time mentally, emotionally, financially, when things will be better. Of course, right now, it seems right and just to take your anger out on the person, the situation, the institution. And yet, I think you also must be aware that there is this self-preservation switch that hasn't kicked in. Something has really irritated you, and the squares have taken full advantage of it and kind of manipulated you into a really emotional space. And you've got to decide now. As we rapidly approach July and things change suddenly as we go into a water season, which we'll talk about next, does it matter anymore whose fault this is? Is that where we want to be stuck? Because once you spend your energy there, it will pool there. It will stay there, fixed earth. That's energy that pools and sits. Okay, so think about that. That is your preview to the extended. I love you. The links are below to see the rest of this. Okay?